I'd like to call this Zion City Council meeting to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Here.
Commissioner McDowell?
Here.
Commissioner Holmes? Here. Commissioner Farson?
Here.
Mayor McKinney?
Here. Number 3, item 3, Mr. Brimner, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
You all please rise to church and pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir.
Pastor Chance Bringman is going to lead us in prayer this evening.
Mayor, Council, thank you very much for having us tonight. As I was preparing today, I was reading in Romans 13, and it says, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God." There are a lot of people in this town that believe that God's will is being done here tonight, and so we just thank you for allowing that to happen, and so let's just pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you, God, that you have put people in place that care about this city, that care about the things that happen, that care about the people here, that care about the students and the children. And so we just thank you, God, that you are here with them, that you are guiding and that you are leading, and that your plans are being put into purpose. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. As customary, we also want to have a moment of silence for our first responders and our military veterans, those who have served and those that continue to serve and fight for the freedoms that we have in our country that gives us free speech and right to be free. So, moment of silence, please. Thank you. Item number 4, agenda changes. Do the commissioners have any agenda changes? Is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved. Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Commissioner Farson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 5, we're having a special presentation tonight by Christopher Burke Engineering.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us out tonight. I just wanted to do a quick update for the council regarding a study that we had just completed back at the beginning of 2019 about 20th Street and the viaduct, right over here, the bike path and the railroad tracks. So we started this study back at the end of 2018, wrapped it up at the beginning of 2019, had a few things come up along the way, and we revised it and just want to kind of go over everything and provide a couple alternatives we looked at, some cost estimates, and see where we want to go next with this. So really, I just want to kind of hit on what the goals of the study were, was just trying to alleviate that flooding. It's our understanding that there's a lot of, the road typically closes often during heavy rainfall events. What we're kind of looking for to provide a level of protection for the viaduct and also the adjacent neighborhood. What we saw from kind of the existing condition analysis, which isn't very rare from what we usually see from other communities in the area, some communities that were developed pre any sort of stormwater ordinances or stormwater management. Then I want to talk about the 3 alternatives, a little more detail on that, and then look to the council for a little bit of guidance on where we want to go next. So the first thing that we were looking to do is improve level of service for the viaduct. Mostly the 2 main areas that we looked at were the 20th Street Viaduct and also basically the residential areas east of the viaduct, since based on our results, it experiences a lot of overland flooding through alleys, adjacent to houses. It's just an area that's consistently wet when we have heavy rainfalls. What we're looking for as part of our design considerations is this is pretty much a standard when it comes to any sort of stormwater projects we look at in the area. We use Illinois State Water Bulletin 70 rainfall data that's put to us from the Illinois State Water Survey based out of Champaign, Illinois. like I said, we completed this in January, and then recently rainfall depths have been updated to reflect more of the current rainfalls that we are seeing. So to give you an idea, rainfall depths are now increasing in Lake County itself in the 20 to 45% range. So what we're going to start seeing now are larger storm sewers and increased building protection standards. So to give you an idea, our 10-year 3-hour storm, which is what we considered our critical event for this study area, prior, and what's actually effective right now is about 2.5 inches for 3 hours. After the increase, it's going to go up to 3.3 inches, so we're seeing a 25% increase. The 100-year, which is just kind of a common number that always gets thrown around, because I feel like we have one of those every other year around this area, it was at about 4.16 inches, and now it's actually increasing up to 5.5 inches. So that's a 32% increase, so that gives you an idea on the rainfall depths and how we are now seeing more of these extreme events on the norm, and we're trying to design our infrastructure to match that. So what we used as alternative design criteria is we sat down with Ray, Public Works, and talked about what we were trying to do and how we were trying to alleviate the flooding. So the two main considerations that we looked at was we wanted to keep the viaduct dry during the 10-year rainfall event. The other alternative was what do we need to do to keep it dry during a 100-year rainfall event. So we wanted to increase our level of protection in that residential subdivision, and to give you an idea, we throw around the 10-year and the 100-year all the time in our line of work. The 10-year is just an easier way of saying that rainfall event has a 10% chance of occurring within a year. And the 100-year is a 1% chance. So these 100 years that we've been seeing on back-to-back, it's not like we're only going to see those once every 100 years. It just actually has a statistical chance of occurring once every, a 1% chance of occurring every year. So we, to break down the engineering speed, we constructed this hydraulic and hydrologic model. We figured out our amount of runoff that we were getting from these little subbasins that we divided, and we sent our survey crews out. They picked up a lot of the information on the existing storm sewer network. From there, we were able to kind of use data provided by Lake County, such as land use and soil types and topography, to get an idea on where the water's going during these larger rainfall events. We compiled it all into one model, we ran it, and we got these results. So this is a good example of the types of flooding that we see west and east of the viaduct. You can kind of see in the middle of the image where there's a lot of green dots. That is the existing viaduct. From the west, there's a large amount of tributary area. I'm not sure how well you can see the yellow outline, but those are kind of the two larger drainage divides, and everything kind of filters towards the viaduct and then works its way east through the village or the city. So what the results really determined is it gave us kind of a baseline condition to work from. Is like I said before, the city was developed prior to a lot of stormwater management ordinance in Lake County, which was developed back in 1992. There's various levels of service throughout the existing system. So what we're seeing is an undersized system with very little stormwater storage allowed, which is not uncommon for a lot of these communities in the area. It's not, to give you an idea, a lot of the system in this area has the capacity for current 2-year standards. Well, right now, if you were to go and redevelop that whole area, you'd be looking to size for the 10-year and provide safe overland flow routes for 100 years. So to give you an idea on how much stormwater management has changed from when that area was developed to where we are now, we're just seeing a lot of undersized infrastructure throughout the area. So then we looked at 3 different alternatives. One was mostly to provide some improvements based on the results of the analysis. We looked at it from a conceptual level. We didn't really get into the meats and put together plan sets and figure out, can this be built? And then we wanted to kind of get some conceptual level cost estimates to give you an idea on, to get these sort of results, this is the dollar amount that will come with it. So we went back to that model that we identified or constructed as part of the earlier analysis, the existing condition analysis, and we modified it with some alternatives on what we were looking to do. And we made sure that each one of these alternatives that we looked at met the criteria that we were kind of looking for, the 10-year or the 100-year level of protection. So alternative 1 is we're looking at getting a 10-year level of service for the viaduct and the area east of the viaduct. So what we did was we increased the pipe size down 20th and outletted up to Beulah Park. So we were able to reduce our 100-year footprint of our floodplain, and our 10-year is well contained within the pipe. This is kind of what we would see for if a system were to be designed currently to meet current standards. So you get that reduction, but you're not eliminating all of the overland flow. So something like this, including all engineering, is about a $3.9 million construction project. So that includes everything. That includes road resurfacing. That includes new sanitary sewers when necessary. If the pipe exceeded a certain size, we considered a whole full road reconstruction, new connection at a lot of the intersections that we actually pass through. So it's not like we're just going to tear up the road, put a bigger pipe, and call it a day. There's a lot more. There's a lot of conflicts that we have to kind of sort out during the engineering phase that would be included in that whole cost. So the second alternative we looked at, we said, well, what do we need to do to get the 100-year level of service for the viaduct? And we looked at that by running an even larger pipe. I think it was about 6.5-foot diameter pipe down 20th Street, outlet to the same park. And with that, we were able to contain the 100-year completely within the pipe, all east of the railroad tracks. We still saw issues west of the railroad tracks because we're kind of maintaining the existing system. We're expecting that portion of 20th Street to overland flow and convey water down to that viaduct where it would be picked up and then conveyed east through the village, the city. Something like this would cost $4.8 million. That's kind of along the same lines as all engineering costs are included with that. Again, full reconstruction on the road since the pipe exceeds 60 inches in diameter. Full connections, new sanitary when necessary, any reserves or resolves any water main conflicts. So that's what we did for that. Our third and last alternative we looked at, we didn't really get to see the results we were expecting. This was just strictly a pipe that was designed to drain the viaduct. So we ran a separate pipe to the park, discharging in the same location. But what we noticed with this was not only did the project cost more than the other two alternatives from a conceptual standpoint, we were also not seeing the results east of the railroad tracks that we were kind of expecting to see like we did with the other alternatives. So kind of to break it down, alternative 1 and alternative 2, if you remember, we both ran those down 20th Street up to Beulah Park. That was $3.9 million and $4.8 million. And then alternative 3, which is not a recommended alternative, is $5.8 million, which runs a new storm sewer up Galilei and 19th Street over to the park. So that's kind of our results and where we are sitting at with the analysis currently. I guess what were the next steps that kind of come with the study is engaging IDOT regarding any sort of viaduct improvements, anything that they might be looking at, possibly furthering the study. And looking at the city would like to evaluate any of the alternatives any further or pursue some final engineering for any of them. So it's just kind of an informational overview for you guys.
Commissioners have any questions?
Thank you very much for the presentation. I remember seeing this in the original form when the first memo was sent out and talking about this. And all along, it just confirms my feeling at the time that of the alternatives presented, number 2 is probably the best. I am surprised that we're still showing that section just west of the viaduct. We're still getting some overland. Is any way to minimize the impact on that, or is that something we can look at?
We could, if that's an alternative that would that the city wishes to kind of evaluate a little further. Really the main restriction point kind of throughout the whole system are just undersized pipes.
Right.
So really looking at that and upsizing the pipes upstream of the viaduct could potentially provide an additional level of protection on that side of the railroad tracks.
Also, I think it is the number 2 is the best solution because I live right there on 21st and right across the road from me. Now, the people in that section, their alleys just become a river,
yeah.
And they end up with water in their garages. They end up. There's a neighbor right across the road from me. He ends up with water in his basement. He has 3 sump pumps running, and he still can't keep up with it. And it's he's unfortunately at probably the lowest point in this map right now. So anything that could alleviate that problem for those people would be, I think, a good investment for the city.
Just for the public's information, and Director Roberts, you can please fill in any gaps here, but it looks like our existing system has a drainage pipe between 18 inches and 27 inches.
Yes,
And
sir.
what this proposal is, number 2, is to replace that pipe with a 78-inch pipe.
Yes,
And the
sir.
overflow that Commissioner Fisher is talking about is not replacing those smaller pipes prior to the viaduct. So that's why we have that, still have some
Some of
flooding
the
issues.
concept, the idea was to try and catch it at the beginning. East of Gabriel, it turns into a 24-inch into a 54-inch down like Bethesda. So I was kind of hoping that if we caught it soon enough, that section would be large enough to handle the rest of the flow. That's, for the overland flow.
Well, it's good to know that we have a solution. It's just the cost of it.
Yes, sir.
So I'm sorry, where's the 54-inch pipe?
Bethesda, it's farther east of what the map is showing right now.
Got it, okay.
That runs north and south. It picks up from 23rd Street, runs north all the way to Dealer Park and Kellogg Creek there.
And just to compare, I guess it would be 1 and 2. Is it correct that the only difference is the size of the pipe between these two?
That's correct. We follow that same alignment down 20th, running north of the park. So we just upsize the pipe to capture 100.
Okay. And so that's just pretty much material cost then?
Yep.
Is the difference there?
And some differences with regards to whether or not we needed to do a full reconstruction on the road, or if we were able to just patch and replace the section that was impacted during the construction.
I would assume both of these would be full reconstruction. They're not?
So depending on the size, what we assume that we developed for engineering, what we determined is if it's larger than a 48, we went to a full reconstruct. We also made some assumptions that we may need to run a parallel water main or a new water main because with the width of the road, the size of the trench, and possibly a parallel sanitary. So we've kind of
Yeah, so
made sure we're a little bit on the conservative.
this first one is 60-inch, and then the second one is 78. So,
Correct.
like I said, I was assuming both
So
would
they
be full
both read
reconstruction.
counts, correct.
So then, I'm calculating that difference to be just material cost at that point.
There'd be, yes, materials, so the pipe itself, as well as the trench backfill, which is going to be a little bit on the wider side. So
Okay.
all that material that you got.
Okay. Thank you.
And the model that you had in your presentation that showed a little bit of overflow flooding, that's assuming the 100-year possible 5-inch rainfall in the 3-hour period.
That is
That's assuming
That's
the very worst.
Yes, the new rainfall data, yes.
It says one step back further, that rainfall data is what's being approved. I think Ray told you that rainfall data is what is going to be approved by the county to follow sometime in the first quarter of 2020. So that's not anything that we just kind of picked off the dart.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Item number 6, citizens' comments. Citizens' comments, just to reiterate, are limited to 3 minutes. It's not a question and answer period. In the event that there's a question that is raised, we typically address that in departmental commentary, or if it's an answer that is a little bit more complex, we'll set up some time to answer that question at a later time. Tracy Johnson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who were here earlier today, you have an idea where I'm going with this. The city makes up 13% of our tax base. Okay? As I've spoken with the school district and the township meeting previously, something when I first purchased my home in Washington, D.C., they had it set up where they had a matching fund. I'm not asking the city to do that, but to have a tax forgiven for any teachers coming newly to this district. For 4 years, they not pay property taxes once they invest in our community. We invest in them, they invest in us. There's a big difference between Chicago starting salaries and those in Zion, a good $15,000, $20,000 swing. So for new teachers coming into the district, I'm just approaching the taxing bodies and just saying, hey, just entertain this for thought. If you want any detail, I can go into detail with your counsel or whomever you like me to do that with. May I approach Mr. Fisher?
You certainly may.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, I want to say thank you, sir. I mean, I took a lot of holding your hands, wife time away from you, and oh, honey, let's watch TV time away from you, sir. About 5 years ago, I worked on a proposal for a wine festival, and it's about 28 pages, and I know Mr. Commissioner Fisher's approved it a few times, but his wife, Mary, is an outstanding attorney, very competent attorney counsel, and she's read through this thing numerous times. It's just surprising to me when I finally met with the city, the gentleman you work with, counsel, that my proposal only came up in the last 10 minutes of a 1-hour meeting. It just blew my mind. And then in that meeting, I found out that the city didn't want me to do a wine festival on any of your property after sitting on this for 2 months before we had our meeting. What a waste of my time. I mean, I could have came in the meeting with comparable sites, but it didn't happen that way, Mayor. And then for the city administrator to say that the city already made a decision, speaking to you, you didn't know nothing about it, and Commissioner Fisher didn't know anything about it, and Commissioner Holmes didn't know anything about it. I was wondering, well, is he running the city, or are the elected people that I voted for running this city? The house is out of order. And without structure and order, we have chaos. Now, we're going to wrap this up one way or the other. Somebody's going to come up with something that's going to make me happy. Don't make me smile. You're going to make me happy. I take offense that I get a text when I'm laying on my back in the ER room on the 6th of June when I got hit by that tractor trailer saying that by Friday at 2 p.m., I had to have my information in for your liquor control board meeting. All of a sudden, the okie doke. Then we went through everything over the summer. We met in the end of August. And now if you come up with the, oh, by the way, we don't want to do this. You should have enough respect for me to address this long before I came in here. But thank you for your time. This is long from over. Have a good evening and God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. W.C. Bremner.
Mayor McKinney, gentle ladies, honorable sirs, I stand before you this evening to bring to your recall the budget discussions you've been having for the last several months, including comments about the Illinois Municipal Retirement Funds. Last week in the Chicago Tribune and yesterday in the Chicago Sun-Times, there were articles regarding Governor Pritzker's concept of combining all the Illinois municipal police retirement funds into one gigantic fund and all the Illinois fireman retirement funds into one giant retirement fund. I did leave a message for Administrator Knable regarding the Tribune article and then threw it out. Sorry about that. But I did bring in the Sun-Times article. The only difference is that the Tribune article was a little more detailed. Permission to approach, sir.
Permission granted. Thank you, sir.
I do thank you for your courtesy, your attention, and for your perusal of this. I request permission to stand down, sir.
Permission granted. Thank you, Mr. Bremner. Julia Patterson.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to I'm here today because I feel the City of Zion and Inspector Warren violated my Fourth Amendment right. He came into my home for a city inspection and knowingly and maliciously lied in a report that he made to DCFS. He stated that I had no working smoke detectors. DCFS came out within the next hour due to who the caller was, and they took pictures of my smoke detector, and under it they typed working smoke detectors. He put in his report that I had old bait traps. Orkin come once a week, so there's no way the bait traps are old. I just really feel bullied from that inspector. I feel like he should have consulted his superiors. He didn't let anyone in the city know, at the city hall know. I feel like he overstepped his authority. The rental inspection program is being misused for a purpose that it isn't created for. The inspection program is supposed to be about property safety and not my lifestyle. I feel the city has violated my rights. I have made a complaint with ACLU. I'm calling for Mr. Warren to be fired because he knowingly and maliciously lied in his report. And I know I have 7 children. I have been taking care of all 7 children. Never have they ever been removed out of my home. When it was time for school, that's why I was working, so I can get all their school stuff. And school came, I couldn't even get their school stuff because I had to stop working because I couldn't take a chance of working an 8-hour shift and not knowing if my kids are going to mess up when I'm at work, like some kids do. So I just want to let you know I have all the proof to show you guys that Mr. Warren did lie, like just knowingly knowing that the smoke detectors work. He said, I have no smoke detectors. So when you make a call to DCFS and state that a woman has 7 children with no smoke detectors, old bait traps, garbage, dirty all over the floor, but when he take pictures of the 3 bedrooms upstairs that he said was all dirty and had garbage on the floor, he only took a picture of the carpet. I've been there 4 years with 7 children. He only took a picture of a little on the carpets in 2 of the bedrooms. But if all 3 bedrooms are dirty, all you have to do is stand at the front door and just take a picture. It'll show all the dirty stuff all over the floor and garbage. He didn't have that. He said I had grease all over the kitchen floor. He didn't take not one picture of the kitchen floor. My basement floods when it rained. I just was hearing you guys talk about the flood and when it rained and stuff, and that's what my basement do. It floods when it rains, and we don't even use the basement downstairs. And he took pictures of downstairs knowing that I have a working bathroom upstairs. It feels like I did something to him, and I never even seen him before for him to do any of that to me. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you for your comments. Julie Ramey.
Hi, I have some letters and flyers here for each one. Can I give them to them?
Absolutely.
And I'm here for a waiver of a permit. I haven't done this in a long time, so I hope you guys bear with me and I'll figure it out. We're trying to have a charity. They're going for you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm sorry, I must have got somebody too. Can you just carry it over, please? We are holding a benefit at Market Square on the 9th of November. My grandson and some other ETAs. Now, an ETA is an Elvis Presley impersonator, or a tribute artist, actually. And we're trying to hold a benefit for our honors flight. All the money and all the proceeds are going to go to send someone to Washington. And we're leaving that up to the Lake County Chamber of Commerce, who are going to help sponsor this. And we're here tonight, along with my grandson, who is one of the performers, to ask for the waiver for this permit. Since we're not making any money, we're donating all of our time and the talent. Hotel is donating the facilities, so there'll be no money raised. If I buy a permit, it's got to come out of my pocket. So I'm going to ask the committee to waive that fee. Is that a possibility?
Well, we don't make those. This was not on the council agenda.
No, I did write a letter on the 29th, as you'll see the letters dated there, and it didn't make it to your agenda.
We don't have an application.
No, I didn't send in an application. That's why I wrote the letter. I'm hoping to have that application and all waived if possible.
You have to fill out the application first.
To have it waived?
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that, so should I can do that. I'll get that to you by tomorrow, and I should bring it to you. And then there's a possibility you can waive it, right?
We'll discuss it.
Thank you. That's all I need. Thank you.
Jason Ellis?
Nice to see everybody after 2 weeks this time, not 5 months. See, it's only been 2 weeks since my last appearance. I wanted to make sure that got on the record because apparently my appearance is tracked by several of you. Since I could not publicly comment last week, since the voting citizens aren't allowed to talk after the meeting, I thought I'd address that now. I'm not sure what my attendance has to do with the substance I talk about. I'm well aware of the fact that the departments make comments every meetings. I watch the meetings on YouTube, thanks to Gibby, often, with great disdain, because I don't like what's being done here. Truth be told, I am a father of 4 very active kids. One in particular, my 14-year-old daughter, is in traveling soccer. She's in competitive traveling soccer now, and Tuesday nights, where she is tonight, is one of my busiest nights of the week. So my priorities are always God first, my family second, my work, which I will add, includes a full-time job, a business I run here in Zion, and countless other side jobs to pay my $8,200 in taxes to live in this city. Whatever is left of my time after is where these meetings lie for me. So yes, this city council meeting will never be my top priority unless I make it one if I decide to run sometime. So 5 months, a year, whatever. The substance of what I say shouldn't be any less important. As far as the Facebook page goes, I figured the number one response would be, we have far better and more important things to say, to do with our time. I call garbage on that. It takes less than 10 minutes to make a Facebook page, and even less time to make a once-a-month post per department, just giving some good insight to the citizens on what's going on in the departments here. If you don't have time, maybe the $25,000 a year that we are all funding, the web host, maybe he can do it. We have a severely lacking and outdated website. I would think at $25,000 a year, maybe he can host this Facebook page. There are plenty of ways to do this. In fact, related to social media, I met with the police chief a week or so ago. I want to thank him for meeting with me. I had an excellent time with him, going over the department's effort on fighting crime and becoming more proactive with the community and less reactive. Social media was also brought up to him. And lo and behold, there was an excuse, there wasn't anything. He said, you're right, we should try and do that more. And since that meeting, we've had more posts on the community forums from the police department, and they've received enormous positive reaction. And once again, I want to thank the Zion Police Department for all they do. Lastly, anyone surprised to see a water rate hike should have known better. Several of our officials ran on this campaign that you would oppose new taxes and new fees. But here we are, not even a year in, and we have more tax increases. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellis. Ron Molinaro.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. I want to thank Commissioner McDowell, Frierson. All of you have responded to a few of my emails, but particularly Mr. Frierson, you had facilitated the meeting with the chief, which went really well, and Jason and I met with him together. So we're excited to see, like Jason said, the proactive approach with the police department, and we look forward to the success that you may have. In one of my emails, I asked about the administrative warrant being able to be used for private homes, not just rentals. Maybe somebody could respond to me with the email. I know Commissioner McDowell was going to look into that for me. So I'm just curious if it can be used both in a private residence as well as a rental. And then my main purpose for tonight, and Clerk Spooner, I appreciate you responding to my email and offering to send me meeting minutes. but our meeting minutes haven't been posted for nearly a year. And by statute, you're required to post them within 10 days. So I would ask that you please put them back on the webpage. It's, I appreciate the offer to email them to me, but it's kind of like a de facto FOIA then. I shouldn't have to ask to see what is the public's right. So I thank you for your time and your service to the community.
Thank you. Item number 7.
Point of order. Mayor McKinney, I apologize for interrupting out of turn. On tonight's ABC News at 4:30, 5 o'clock, whatever it is, the Zion Police Department was commended. 2 officers pulled a lady out of a burning car Friday night. It was on the news. Bravo Zulu to your men, sir.
Item number 7, consent agenda.
Approval of minutes of a regular meeting held on October 1st, 2019 at 7 p.m. Approval but not release of closed session minutes of a meeting held on October 1st, 2019 at 7:42 p.m.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item B.
Bills, vouchers 133140 through 133228, drawn on Huntington National Bank, total $336,443.34.
Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 8, consider passing resolutions as follows. A, adopting a complete streets policy per Director Roberts.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. Council has previously approved the Phase 1, Phase 2 engineering and the submittal of STP application for the 27th Street resurfacing project to be submitted in January 2020. As part of the current STP application process through the Lake County Council of Mayors is to include points-based system from CMAPs onto 2050 long-range plan. Points will be awarded to any project whose project sponsor has adopted a complete streets policy. The complete streets policy is critical to obtaining the STP funding. Complete Streets is a transportation policy and design approach that encourages streets to be planned, designed, operated, and maintained to enable safe, convenient, and comfortable travel and access for all anticipated roadway users, regardless of their age, abilities, or mode of travel. Staff is requesting approval of the attached resolution and Complete Streets policy.
I'll make a motion that we approve this resolution for Complete Streets.
Second.
Discussion?
Just a question for Director Roberts. Although we have this resolution, kind of a code for how we manage streets, is this our normal approach to managing the streets? We just put it in writing? Is that basically what this is?
Yes, sir. Typically, every time we do or propose an FAU project, we take in pretty much all what they're requiring us to do. The design of looking at ADA improvements, the sidewalk improvements, any signage improvements if it's by school or other high traffic areas.
So in terms of how we manage streets, is there anything different in this proposal than what we already do?
No, sir.
Okay, thanks.
So if I'm reading this correctly, just by adopting this resolution, that would give us 50 priority points for
It could. It's up to 50 of 200.
Okay.
Further questions? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 9, consider passing ordinances as follows. A, regarding the disposition of surplus property per Chief Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. The department is asking for a mulligan for the declaration of surplus property that we filed back in last month. A member of our staff actually copied the wrong vehicle information when we sought the declaration of surplus property for our old animal control van. We now have corrected that, and you're looking at the member of the staff. We would just like to set the record straight and get it accurately recorded in the city records.
I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second.
I didn't realize that you were a golfer.
Yeah, today
Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 9B, regarding the disposition of surplus property per Director Roberts.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. Council had previously approved the purchase of a Vector truck. Included within the financing agreement is a trade-in value of $60,000 for the 2003 Vector truck currently owned, and $40,000 for the 2005 sweeper. Both pieces of equipment are required to be placed in a surplus status in order to be utilized as a trade-in for the new purchase of the new Vector. Staff is requesting the approval of both pieces of equipment to be declared surplus.
Make that motion.
Second.
Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item 9C, approving and authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the Illinois Department of Health Care and Family Services per Chief Lewis, standing in for Chief Lewis, who's at a convention, I believe, in Peoria.
Correct. Correct.
Eric Troy.
Correct. Thank you, Your Honor. Chief Lewis asked me to bring this forward. The Illinois Fire Chiefs Association has been working with the Illinois Department of Health Care and Family Services to provide financial assistance under the government's medical emergency transport to agencies which provide ambulance service associated with Medicaid reimbursement. Through this IGA and the appropriate filings with IDHFS, we could receive additional Medicare reimbursements for our transports. The impact of this charge is estimated to bring in approximately $180 million each year of additional Medicaid reimbursements to the Illinois EMS providers. Based on reports from our ambulance billing vendor, we have approximately 75% of our transports billed to Medicaid, Medicare, which should allow us to receive a sizable reimbursement for this program. It is Chief Lewis's recommendation that we enter into an IGA with the Illinois Department of Health Care and Family Services to participate in the GMET program. The city's legal team has also had a chance to review the IGA and found no reason not to move forward with it. The deadline for the initial GMET cost report and the IGA was October 1st, but has been extended to November 1st. If we submit our required documentation by November 1st, we will be eligible for reimbursement funds effective January 1st of 2021. If we miss the deadline, we cannot request reimbursement until October 2021. Chief Lewis respectfully requests that the City Council authorize entering into an IGA with the Department of Health Care and Family Services for Medicare reimbursements.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Is there discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item 9D, amending Chapter 62 of the Zion Municipal Code regarding video gaming per Administrator Nate.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I have before you a change in the code. If you blink, you'll miss it. It's one little item in the code to match basically the state law. The state expanded the number of gaming machines that business entities eligible for gaming can have from 5 to 6. Our code said 5. We're just amending that to match state law to allow them to take advantage of that within the city. So there's just one change on there, changing that from 5 to 6, and I would recommend approval of the modification.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Just one question. Is there a required floor space for the units? So you have to have a certain amount of floor space for 6 units as opposed to 5?
I'm not sure that's handled at the state level. They vet it and they put all the requirements. We can't put any additional requirements on. Even if there was, we couldn't modify what the state law is other than as it relates to liquor licenses.
Further discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item 9E, consider approval of memorandum of understanding by and between the Macon County Law Enforcement Training Center and the City of Zion, per Chief Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, you have a memo and an MOU that's been drafted. The Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board governs all the training and certification of police officers in the state of Illinois. They have commissioned, I believe, 4 full-time academies to provide basic law enforcement training and 1 part-time academy way down south. Macon County Law Enforcement Training Center is the newest one under the Illinois Law Enforcement and Training and Standards Board. They have offered to enter into an MOU with us that would allow us 2 reserve slots for every basic law enforcement training class that they operate, and they are authorized to operate 3 a year. What typically happens is the 4 academies each have 3 classes that they can offer, and with all the state law enforcement agencies sending people there, they quickly fill up. It's not unusual. They have a wait list of 60 officers or more, and in the past that has resulted in us being unable to send officers to a police academy in time, and resulted in delays in filling staff shortages and increased overtime costs. There is no cost to us for entering into this MOU, and if we do not have officers who are in need of that training, we simply let Macon County know, and they will make those reserve slots available to other agencies.
I'd like to make that motion to approve entering the MOU with Macon County Law Enforcement Training Center.
Second.
Is there discussion?
Chief, is there no training center in Milwaukee?
They have to be trained through the state of Illinois. So each state has its own training and standards board or equivalent, and they require certification in an academy within the same state that they're employed at.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item 10, discussion authorization of approval. 10A, request permission to fill 1 firefighter paramedic vacancy and request the name of the next qualified candidate from the Police and Fire Commission eligibility list per Chief Lewis, a.k.a. Eric Troy.
Thank you, Your Honor. With the resignation of Lieutenant Rick Reich effective October 23rd, 2019, we will have another vacancy that will require use of overtime to maintain a minimum staffing of 7 personnel on duty each day. At the October 8th, 2019 meeting of the Board of Fire and Police Commission, in an effort to expedite the process, approval was received to release the name of the next eligible candidate on the final eligibility register for firefighter paramedic candidate contingent on the approval by the Zion City Council. Chief Lewis respectfully requests that the City Council authorize the Fire and Police Commission to hire the next eligible candidate from the current published final eligibility register for firefighter paramedic.
I'd like to enter that motion.
Second.
Discussion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Item number 10B, consider proposal from Christopher Burke Engineering of Rosemont, Illinois, to assist the City of Zion in the application for a loan from the IEPA revolving loan fund per Director Roberts.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Commissioners. The attached proposal is from Christopher Burke Engineering assisting the city in the application for a loan from the IEPA revolving loan fund. The IEPA loan application shall cover a proposed 5-year plan of $1.5 million per year water main replacement and infrastructure projects. A required first step in working towards funding approval is the submittal of a project plan accompanied by a funding nomination form. It takes approximately 12 to 18 months typically from the time you submit a project plan until a loan is obtained and construction can begin. Staff is requesting and recommends the approval of the proposal from engineering to Christopher Burke Engineering of Rosemont in the amount of $19,500. Funding for these services has been budgeted for within the water fund account.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Is there discussion?
Just for some clarification, and I know this information, you've shared it many times, but our infrastructure is aging, and approximately 20% of our water mains are from the 1920s. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And how many water main breaks have we had this year so far?
61 so far.
So this is preemptive in dealing with some of our aging infrastructure.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that this was a budgeted item from water fund, budgeted in terms of engineering or for this specific use?
Engineering, basically what it was budgeted for was, we were planning on taking a look at possible replacement project. With the timing of the year, that never panned out, so we're just using that money to budget within and not do the project.
And this is looking at, so the loan is a 5-year plan. This study is going to be citywide for total, or what is it called?
It's for a 5-year plan for 5 years worth of $1.5 million each year.
Phased in each year.
So not necessarily the entire city, just enough to absorb that amount of project cost?
Yes, sir.
Just one other point, and we have mentioned this in other meetings, but this loan from the IEPA is potentially forgivable.
May receive up to $800,000 back.
The amount changes annually, but that's the current estimate.
So we're applying for this program.
Yes, sir.
But that's unrelated to this. This is just to do the study and engineering, the pre-engineering.
Right.
To submit for the application.
So we can.
No,
Yeah, so the loan program, we could qualify for up to a 30-year loan program at a reduced rate of 1.5%, but you have to have a project in place to be able to apply. This is getting the project in place to apply. We get approved for the loan. Then the next step is that we see if we qualify for a loan forgiveness, but we'll know that, it's a 12 to 18 month process, so by the time we get through that process, then we'll look at budgeting loan payments, what fits in the budget if we don't get a forgiveness. Hopefully we do to leverage those funds, but if not, we still need to move forward with water main infrastructure improvements.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Commissioner Fryerson?
Aye.
Mayor McKinney?
Aye. Number 11, departmental commentary. Human Resources Director Karen Graves.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have anything for this evening.
All right. Director Ianton of the Building Department is not with us tonight. He's been ill the last several days. He should be returning to work here shortly. Director Roberts.
Thank you, sir. Our alley road program is wrapping up. Everything has been paved. Currently, they are working on the punch list. It should be completed this week. The sidewalk program has started. You will see the contractors out working on that. Hopefully for the next 2 weeks, they should be done.
Mike?
Oh. Administrator Nabel, excuse me.
I'm going to steal Director Ianson's thunder since since he's not here, but he wanted to communicate that we are still working on cleaning up of the sites for the demolitions. We know it's still out there and has some work to do. We had a couple of those 100-year storms this year, which has delayed the project just like it did on some of the sidewalk and streets. But they're hoping to have that wrapped up here shortly before, until Director Roberts' snow starts falling.
That's a four-letter word.
I know, that is a four-letter word, not here.
Two items, just a reminder that we still have open part-time positions. We're not seeing a tremendous amount of people apply for them for firefighter, paramedic, but that is an ongoing and open position right now. So if anybody knows that anybody that has a firefighter basic and paramedic, we would encourage them to apply. And secondly, I just wanted to touch base on Lieutenant Rick Reich and him resigning. He worked with our department about 19 and a half years, so he's falling just short of getting his 20-year acknowledgement on the floor. Rick joined the department a couple of years after I did. I worked with him for a long time. This is a big loss for us in our department. Lieutenant Reich is a doer. He is a creative thinker. He knows a lot about a lot of things. And so for that reason, myself and I'm sure many of my coworkers are sad to see him go. He is pursuing an opportunity at Lake Villa Fire Department as a battalion chief, so he's actually moving up in the ranks and pursuing his goal of moving on. But certainly we will miss him, and I wanted to give him an acknowledgement because he's falling just short of his 20-year on the floor acknowledgement.
Battalion Chief Troy, thanks for your comments and for filling in this evening. Chief Henderson.
Thank you, Your Honor. As Mr. Bremner indicated, we had a couple of officers who did some very commendable work last Friday night about 11:30, responded to a single vehicle accident that was dispatched to both fire and police at the same time. I would like to commend the 4 or 5 citizens who are also there. If I knew their names, I would do that publicly, but who are also trying to get this woman out of her vehicle. That single vehicle accident struck a pole just out here on 29th Street. The vehicle burst into flames, and both the driver's side and passenger side doors could not be opened. Fortunately, the accident dislodged the passenger side window. So Officer Steve Hines, a 10-year veteran of our department, and Officer Casey Taylor, a 4-year veteran of our department, were able to remove her from the accident. Fire was on scene within seconds to treat her injuries. I don't particularly consider their actions heroic. I think they would say the same. That's the kind of work that we're expected to do and we're glad to do. I'm happy to provide the citizens an example of that work that often goes unseen every day. Not everything is captured by a camera, but I do want to commend those 2 officers.
All right. Item number 12, announcements, October 25th, 5 p.m., Trail with Treats, sponsored by Lake County's Lakeshore Chamber of Commerce, the City of Zion, and Zion Park District. That's 5 o'clock on October 25th. October 27th, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., Zion Trick or Treat. November 5th, 7 p.m., Zion City Council meeting. November 19th, 6:15, Zion Township Board meeting, and 7 p.m., Zion City Council meeting. November 28th and 29th, city offices closed for Thanksgiving holiday. Item number 13, closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2, open meetings for the discussion of pending litigation and personnel. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk call roll.
Commissioner Fisher?
Aye.
Commissioner McDowell?
Aye.
Commissioner Holmes? Aye. Commissioner Fryerson? Mayor McKinney?
Aye.
I got it.